Hi, visionaries. Welcome back to the Your Biggest Vision Show. I am your host, Leah Gervais, and today we have one of my friends, a masterminder of mine, and the already Your Biggest Vision Show guest, Jacquie Smith, on the podcast. She's the founder of Little Adapts by Jax, and if you guys follow me on Instagram, you probably know how much I've been learning from her this year about holistic health and nutrition and energy. So I wanted her to be on the podcast again to talk to you guys about her philosophies on managing your energy, because I can truly attest to how much they have helped my business. And I really just wanted it to come from her. So thanks for being here, Jacquie.
Thanks for having me, Leah. I'm excited to be back.
Yeah, I'm really excited too. And I know how helpful you've been to your clients and everyone, especially right now with all this stress. So I guess let's just go ahead and dive in and we can just kind of have a fun conversation. So when I talk about energy, I really mean it for me in two ways. And I encourage all of you listening that own your own businesses or that want to think of it this way too, because I was just thinking this morning, 4 years ago when I started, if like what I would have thought would be like the most important thing in my business, like at the point I'm at, multiple six figures, it would have been probably like really, really great emails and fancy funnels and all of that. And now being here, I think the most important thing is my energy. Like, that's it, really. And so anyway, all this is to say is that I mean that in two ways. I mean it like, don't be tired all the time. You have to kind of have a stamina. And then also, stay positive and don't let the stresses of entrepreneurship, of a pandemic, of life get in your way. And so Jacquie, you are a master at these things. So I'd love to just turn it over to you. And I think we should just go ahead and dissect a day. Does that work for you?
Yes, because I think it's, like you said, especially, for, what you do and what I do as owning my own business, having like constant energy levels throughout the day is super important. So the way I think about it is, and what's something that I have, especially during this time, I have found super important is starting with like your morning, right? Like having and developing a morning routine. And it goes back to like every one of my clients has something different, but having some way to basically set a positive mindset or set your energy levels throughout the day is super important. So it could be as simple as, just waking up and having a glass of water. Mine, personally is more in line with like, I'll do a workout, I'll shower, I will have my supplements, my tea, my breakfast, and then I start my day. So it's those things that are super important to me, but it makes me feel more productive, more energized. And by having something that like you look forward to every morning and something that you can keep as like your little routine, I think really sets the stage for like a positive day and constant energy levels.
I totally agree. I've been a fan of the morning routine pretty much. That's one thing I did do early on in my business, because I really built Urban 20 something in the early years, like between the hours of like 4:30 a.m. and 8 a.m. because I'm not really a night person. So I would have to do it before work. And it's been interesting to see over the years, what I've like kept up with and things that I don't do anymore. And it's fun because it's kind of always changing. But I think you really hit the nail on the head. Like, it's something I look forward to every morning. And it's just a nice time before I check my email or my phone or anything to really get myself mentally and physically in a good place. One of the things I've learned from you is the benefit of drinking hot water with a lemon in it. So I think a lot of people talk about like having some lemon juice, but you encourage your clients to put whole lemon in it, or not the whole lemon, but include the fiber of the lemon. Do you think that there's benefit to drinking that before you've eaten anything or drank anything? Does it kind of help your system, or does it not really matter?
It's better to do it before, like drink it on an empty stomach. So it could be hot or cold water, either way. But basically what it does is it helps to like start your stomach acid so that you digest your food better throughout the day. And I've done research because there's the whole thing about like apple cider vinegar, and like it doesn't work for me. That's why everything is about what you like and what you enjoy doing. Lemon water works, and I've done research. They do very similar things. It's really about having it on an empty stomach, and then that helps you to like have your stomach start working and create those acids so that you properly break down your food to be able to absorb the nutrients better throughout the day.
I'm so happy you said that. I've never gotten on the apple cider vinegar train either. I've tried.
I can't. I tried to. I can't do it. It's too much.
It's too much for me too. Okay, so you start your morning off well, and a lot of this is also mindset stuff. So can you tell us a little bit about like your mindset? So you do a gratitude journal. How does that help you as a business owner?
So I like to use it, and I have actually found journaling. I've tried to do meditation regularly, and again, it's like anything else. And they say it, you have to practice it, and that's something that I'm practicing. And I've done, meditation apps here and there, but I really found that journaling, just because I'm someone that thinks a lot in my head and I keep my thoughts in there, and if I'm able to write it down, I feel like that's a really nice release. But I also use it as a way to especially with some of the, like my journal has prompts, so it helps me to basically set positive affirmations for the day. So whether that's personally or professionally, I just write down every single day what it is that I want to accomplish. Maybe it's today or this week, or maybe it's what I want to do over the month. But it's a way to remind myself to say those positive affirmations so I can manifest what I want for my life and for my business.
And so what would you say to someone who's a new entrepreneur and feels like they don't have time to journal or meditate or exercise and all those kinds of things?
I mean, at the end of the day, I hate to be blunt about it, but like we choose what our priorities are. And like for a 5-minute meditation journal that you could do while you're eating your breakfast, like that doesn't really take away from your day, but it does change the course of the rest of the day and the rest of the week and the rest of the month. So if it's important to you and you really want to see those results, then you need to take the time to do it.
Yeah, you don't have time not to do it at some point.
Exactly.
There will always be things to do.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So let's keep going throughout the day. I agree that morning is the most important. How do you think about, okay, so let's say, it's 9, it's 10, you start working, you start going through your emails and you get an angry client email, or you get a rejection email, or someone writes something mean on your Instagram. How do you come back to managing stuff like that?
I mean, it definitely has gotten easier, and I'm sure you can attest to the same thing. But I think you just kind of read it, or accept whatever has been given to you, and you acknowledge it. Maybe you cry, maybe you get pissed off, but you have to feel the emotions, and then you need to just realize that that's a small part of your day, and then basically handle it and then move on. Mm-hmm. I think and even in those moments, that's maybe where you could, if you're for me, working out, I'm big on the efficient working out. So maybe if you're mad, and a good stress relief for you is to do a 10-minute workout, maybe to do a 10-minute workout, or maybe you just take a few minutes to journal, or maybe you just take a few deep breaths. It doesn't have to be something monumental, but I think if you can just find those tools that help you to manage those moments of stress or hurt or rejection, then you'll easily be more able to bounce back and get what you need done for the rest of the day.
Yeah, and I also think this took me a little longer to really step into, but those morning affirmations and things that you do in the morning to kind of train your brain for how you want to think, those things aren't just meant to happen when the world proves that they're right, or when you get lucky. Those a true belief is not dependent on outcomes. So for example, if you have an affirmation that you're going to manifest, or that you'll always reach your goals. If your affirmation is that I reach my goals this month, I reach my goals every month, and then you get an email that's a rejection, and you all of a sudden are then thinking, what if I don't reach my goals this month? Then you don't really believe that. And that's why affirmations are so important, and you have to repetitively do it, because your belief shouldn't be conditional on an email. You can still reach your goals. There's still a million different ways you can do it. So it really is coming back to that strength and remembering that you're deciding your beliefs, and that's why we do this work in the morning.
Yeah, and I should say that I've had help with this from Leah, since I do her VIP track for the mastermind. And when I get those mean emails, I just talk to her, and then she makes me feel better. And it's don't worry about it. It's all good. So having Leah in my back pocket is also super helpful.
Oh, thanks, Jacquie. That's awesome. I always ask people, what do you do when you have a bad day? And you're like, I text you. That's what happens. That's what I'm here for. Well, it's been amazing to see you bounce back. But okay, so anyway, let's think a little bit about energy in terms of you get tired. So it's lunch, you have the kind of 2 o'clock slump. One thing I know that fascinates me about you is that you don't drink caffeine. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you made that decision and how you get through the day in an energetic place?
Totally. So I noticed that, so basically I do the reboot, which Leah has done, my 12-day real food reboot. And I went through this was last year, 3 times I went through and I wasn't even drinking a lot of caffeine. Like I had eventually switched over to like lattes and green tea and like matcha. So things that really had a slow release, not like your standard cup of coffee, which has like 120 milligrams of caffeine. But I went through caffeine withdrawal every single time. And I finally, my husband and I hit a point where like, this is not worth it to me. Like I like, and then when I would drink coffee again, I started to be really jittery. So that would cause more anxiety and stress. And I love the taste of coffee. Trust me. I've been drinking coffee since I was like, I shouldn't say this, but 5. Like my grandma would be like milk with a splash of coffee. Like I love coffee flavored things. So that was a big transition. But what I noticed the most is that like, I didn't really get that slump later on in the day. I didn't feel like it was nice not having to need something to like wake me up or have that jolt. Like I could use my own energy. And I think, Leah, I know you can attest that like it sucks when you're going through the reboot, but once you get past the first few days, like all of a sudden you have like this euphoric moment where you're like, oh my God, I can sustain my day without relying on like a stimulant. And I just felt like I didn't need it anymore. So like instead of that, I replaced it with herbal tea. Now I'm in Colorado. They actually have the owner had actually given us like a option to get us good coffee, and I opted for decaf. So like I'll do decaf here and there because I do enjoy the taste of coffee, but I just feel so much better. I sleep so much better. Like caffeine technically takes like over 24 hours to get out of your system. So even if you're having a cup of coffee in the morning, you know, it's not really leaving like until maybe like the next day. So like for me, my sleep is so important that I don't want it to be affected by having like a stimulant throughout the day. So for me, it was just really like a game changer. And it's also nice just not to have to rely on something for your energy needs.
So do you overall, would you say like now compared to a year ago, however long it's been, do you overall feel more energetic without it?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is so amazing to me, and I'm so glad we're talking about it. This is the kind of thing that I really wanted to have you on because you know, like you understand it so much better than I do, but I am like big caffeine fan. I've always loved it. And I'm like you, Jackie, that I don't drink coffee or like espresso. Sometimes I'll drink espresso, but usually I drink tea or I drink these weird organic 5-hour energies. And when I did your reboot, it made me realize how addicted to caffeine I was because I felt awful for the first few days. And I didn't get sort of the like pep in my step as quickly as I wished I would have. I think I got it, like I think by day 6 I was feeling okay, but I wasn't feeling super peppy. I'm sorry, just a second. Sorry, there's the midst of craziness in New York means there's sirens all the times. So anyway, it didn't happen to me as quickly as it did, but that second time that I did your reboot, like changed my life because by the end of it, I think it was like probably on day 10. And I think it's just like when everything kind of came together for me, like 10 nights of amazing sleep and no caffeine, no alcohol, and like no gluten, just it all just sort of like hit at the right time. I like never had felt a euphoria like that. And it stayed with me for like a long time. And your reboot ended in May. And it really stayed with me through May. And I really think that's why I had an $80,000 month in May. Like, I'm not kidding at all. That's what I've been telling people because I feel like I started off in just like such a high energy and just like at the utmost kind of fine-tuned place for my body. And it was amazing to see. I have gone back to having caffeine. I have not totally stopped, unfortunately, but I definitely like never would have even considered it until you did this. And I even now, like there'll be days where I don't have it at all. And I'm always trying to think about how I can have less of it. Because what I also didn't realize is I never have thought of myself as an anxious person, really. But when I didn't have it, I realized I was actually kind of anxious. It does stress you out. Like you will trip with it more than you think you do. That's not normal to think like that all the time.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think that's like the biggest thing that I don't think people realize, especially with everything going on, especially starting out with the pandemic. but really people are drinking way more caffeine and way more alcohol. And those are like the top two things that actually cause more stress and more anxiety. And the fact that we have like no way to really release them and we're stuck inside is like not a good formula for success. So, I mean, it's just something, but you don't, the problem is that the reason I love the reboot so much and the reason I think my clients see such like outstanding results is because unless you're forced to do something, you're not going to do it, but you don't know how good you can actually feel until you remove all those foods that cause stress, cause anxiety, cause you to feel like lethargic and have low energy levels. Like you don't know how good you can feel until you experience it. And that's what like the beautiful thing about the reboot is.
Yeah, totally. And the same thing, I experienced the same kind of thing with gluten. Like I never would have known that gluten was making me tired, or that like after I ate a meal, you know, I actually thought it was normal to like eat a meal and then feel kind of sleepy after. Like, and I guess a lot of people probably think that it's normal because it's kind of like that on TV and like you just don't really question it. And then when I did your reboot, I'm like, I don't feel tired from this. Like food shouldn't be making you feel exhausted like that.
No, I mean, I think that gets into another subject of like everything starts with nutrition, and even thinking about like, you know, starting with your morning routine, like again, there's different, everyone is a little bit different. Some people are really into like intermittent fasting, or maybe they like have these windows. I enjoy breakfast, so I like eating it. I've tried intermittent fasting. It didn't work for me, but that's not to say that's the case for everyone. But I think it's really important because the goal of keeping your energy levels really high throughout the day is having like stabilizing your blood sugar levels. So thinking about always having like a healthy fat, fiber, and protein. You know, and again, I'm mostly plant-based, so like I try to do that from a plant-based perspective. But if you do that with that combination of food, you're not going to have the spikes in your blood sugar levels, which cause like the dip in your energy. Now, to say that you're never going to get tired at 2 or 3 o'clock, that it depends on, again, depends on like your day, what's going on. The other thing about women in specifically is like, it depends on your cycle, right? There's this whole other area where you can think to your cycle and just being forgiving during, you know, when you're right before your period and during your period. But the other thing you want to think about, the time that you would actually want to like have a snack or maybe use a snack as like a way to fuel or energize yourself would be around like 2 or 3 o'clock, because that actually follows like your circadian rhythm. So that's like for those out there that are like, when should I snack? And like, should I use it as an energy source? Like, it's totally fine to have like a small snack at like 2 or 3 o'clock when you feel like, A, you're getting hungry because this is the longest period from lunch to dinner. And B, like maybe you just need a small like pick me up to like, you know, get you through the rest of the day before you have your dinner and unwind at night.
Mm-hmm. So I think hang on, I had like an exact thing that I wanted to say from everything you were just talking about. Oh, the other thing that I love about what you do and that I've never seen another like nutritionist or nutrition coach do is, you know, you talk about like keeping your energy levels with like high with what you eat, but also what I love about what you do is keeping your energy, and I mean like the attitude kind of your energy, like your positivity high, by like looking forward to when you eat or drink or exercise. And I know like your number one rule is like, don't do things that you don't enjoy. Like if you don't like apple cider vinegar, then you can drink lemon water and it'll still do the same thing. If you don't like run, I hate running, but I still find ways to exercise because I found something else. And what I've like loved about learning from your reboot and your recipes is that, you know, eating plant-based can sound pretty unsexy. Like it can sound kind of boring. Like, what are you going to eat? Are you just going to have vegetables? And, you know, you've really gotten so creative with different ways to do that. And so your philosophy to like taking care of yourself, and I think the reason it's worked so well for me and changed like my overall life is because it's just something I really enjoy. It's almost like a hobby now, or something that's just like I look forward to. I look forward to making smoothies or exercising or whatever kind of meal I'm going to try to whip up. I'm still not a great cook, but it's just made this so much more fun. And when you can see it like that, as like, not only are you like nourishing yourself and obviously doing the best thing you could for your body, but it's a part of your life that you enjoy and you get huge results, and it changes everything. It no longer feels like a chore or like something that is too daunting. So I actually have a question from there, but I want to hear if you have anything to say on top of that before I do.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. Like if you don't enjoy something, like there's all these like restrictive diets out there, and there's all these like things that you're supposed to be doing because they're healthy. But if you don't actually enjoy doing them, then you're not going to do them, and it's not going to be sustainable. But if you find things, whether it's meals or movement or like, you know, like small morning routines or stress management tools, things that work for you and you enjoy, they start to become what you do and not something that you feel like you have to do, right? They just become part of like your lifestyle. And that's the whole point. Like having healthy lifestyle is your lifestyle and it's all personalized around you. That's why like the little adapt or small positive changes I do for clients are all based on what they like and what they don't like. So even when a client tells me like, I really didn't like that recipe, I'm like, that's a win. You don't like it. So don't eat it. Like you're not going to like all the same things that I like, but by finding the things that you don't like, that also adds to figuring out what your health journey and lifestyle looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So my question there is, I feel like you and I are talking quite a bit about like, I don't know, like these are changes I've made after like, you know, months and even years, like even before I started learning from you, I considered myself a healthy person and I always really cared about exercising and what I ate. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like we're talking about things that are like quite developed down a nutrition journey or down a health and wellness journey. If someone's listening and they're, you know, they're excited about what we're talking about because they're realizing that maybe they don't have to feel as tired as they do, or maybe they would feel a bit less stressed or a bit less negative or pessimistic if they changed their diet or their day-to-day life. What are like 3 starter ways that you can start thinking about this that are just easy to digest and actionable?
Definitely. So I think my number one thing would be to pick a meal that you want to work on first, right? So like don't think about overhauling all of your meals at once or creating like a whole diet plan. Just think about like where do you want to start making better choices or healthier choices. So what, like for example, like maybe breakfast is the thing that like is your quick and easy thing, but like you don't have really good staples. I would say focus on one meal. And then maybe your little adapt is like each week, try a new recipe. And I have plenty on my website if you need any. But you could just try there. And then that way that you could find, because once you have staples for one meal, then you feel really confident. And then maybe you'll be ready to move on to the rest of it. So I'd say first, if you have like a problem area or like a specific meal you want to work on, I would start with that. And then just start to try out a new recipe each week. Like keep it really simple. Don't feel like you have to overhaul anything. So that's one thing. 2, I would really focus on, and I think Leah, this is a big thing of yours, but like staying hydrated. Like staying hydrated affects not only like your energy levels, but it helps with your digestion, which will affect your energy levels. It affects your skin. So a lot of times, like I mentioned before, in like your morning routine, like just start with like a full glass of water. It doesn't have to be lemon water. Like if you can do lemon water, great. But if all you can do is wake up and have a full glass of water, you will be that much more hydrated. And then think about, if you want to take it to the next step, think about like how many glasses of water do you drink a day? Like maybe set a goal of how many, whether it's a water bottle or glasses that you want to drink throughout the day, and hold yourself accountable, because that's an easy way to just kind of like remind yourself to drink more water and stay hydrated. So I would say focus on a food, a meal you want to focus on water intake. And then the third one, because I love movement so much, is even if it's 15 minutes a day, I would try to move your body. Like, and it doesn't, like I have, and also you can go on my Instagram or my YouTube, I have 10-minute workouts, and I promise you, you will be sweating after. Leah can probably also attest to that.
100%, I love them.
Yeah, and I have a lot of clients that just think, just like, they're also entrepreneurs, they have their own business, or maybe it's a side hustle. And the thing that they struggled the most with is like similar to what Leah was doing when she first started out and what I was doing, is like she spent her mornings like working on her business, then she'd go to work, and by the end of the day, you're exhausted, right? So even if you can think about like what are those moments where you can fit in like a 10 to 15-minute workout, maybe it's throughout the day, maybe you do a few, or maybe you just do one, that's better than nothing. And that creates consistent, like lasting results. So I guess just to highlight, it's one is focus on a meal that you feel like is either you're struggling with, or maybe you're excited to try new recipes in order to get your energy levels up. 2 is to stay hydrated, whether it's just drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning, or maybe setting a goal for how many glasses you drink throughout the day. And then 3 is just figuring out how you can fit in even just some sort of daily movement, whether it's going for like a walk or like a 10 to 15-minute workout, doing that stuff is better than doing nothing at all.
Yeah, those are awesome tips. For the meal, like let's say it's breakfast, how does someone like start to think about that? Is it like, how can I get more vegetables in this meal? Or like, because what if your thing is like a cheese and an egg and a ham sandwich? Like, and we've talked about dairy and gluten in it, and like, how do they even know where to begin?
Yeah, so I think that also brings it to a big point that I always talk about is think about adding some sort of greens or veggies to every single meal. That's it. Even if you start with like you just mentioned, right? Like say you're having an egg sandwich with like ham and cheese on like a bagel, right? Add greens to it. Like just start there. Get some extra vitamins and nutrients. Or maybe an easy swap could be, or another option could be rather than adding greens, you could swap out the cheese for like avocado, right? That's a healthy fat. So just thinking about what are small things, but I think adding veggies and greens to every single meal is just like an easy way to start too.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, the last thing I kind of want to cover, because this is another thing that's made a huge difference for me, is sleep. So I notice a huge difference when I have a good, uninterrupted 8-hour night sleep versus when I have 6.5 hours. And I get like, I don't know if other entrepreneurs are like this, but like if I get up at 3:30 in the morning and I'm like in the middle of working on something I like I will work. And it's never good for me. It never ends up paying off. The rest of the day ends up feeling I'm cranky. My poor husband is like, what is going on? But like when I get those jolts of inspiration, I like to be up. And so having like being able to sleep through the whole night and just feeling really refreshed every morning makes a huge difference. So do you have a night routine, and what things could really be interrupting sleep, and how much do you encourage people to like have a good night's sleep? Like you can't cut, in my eyes, like I would never tell my clients to get up an hour earlier to work on your business if sleep is what you need.
Totally. So I do have a bedtime routine, and it sounds like now that I say it out loud, and I've been doing this with all of my clients. So it's like it's something that everyone struggles with. And I think it also does depend though. I would say like if you're a morning person or a night person, like that's when your time to go to bed is a little bit different. Like for example, like Lee and I, like I'm okay waking up at 5 a.m. Like that's okay with me. I really enjoy my mornings. But some people function the other way, where I think, Leah, like your husband is like, he sleeps in, but he stays up later, right?
Yeah,
but
like 9 p.m. is like the height of his day.
Yeah. So again, remember this is like unique to the person. But in terms of like a bedtime routine, and it sounds like silly because right, we're going back to like when we were kids and our parents like made us have a bedtime routine, but like there's no reason we shouldn't be doing that now. So what I tell clients is think about, because typically we end up, especially now, we end up going to bed later. We're on our phones, we're on our computers, like there's just so much like activity and stimulants in front of us that we don't actually, our brains like have a hard time processing and slowing down before we go to bed, which is why people struggle to like fall asleep easily, or maybe they have their mind racing. So what I tell clients is think about the time that you want to start shutting down. So that means your phone, your TV, like you start getting ready for bed, and then maybe a half hour later, your goal is to be in bed and be asleep. So like, for example, for me, usually when it's earlier in Colorado now, but like when I was in New York, it would be like probably somewhere around like, I don't know, like 9:30ish, I start getting ready for bed. And then I want to be in bed no later than like 10 p.m. so that I'm asleep. Maybe I'd read for like 15 minutes or something, but I want to be asleep by 10:15. So it's really about thinking about, for you, how many hours of sleep you need. And I think the average person needs around like 7 to 8 hours. But again, everyone's different, because there's people that function on like 5 hours. That would never work for me. But it's also about just knowing like your limitations and what your body needs. So think about a time you want to shut down. And that means like I literally place my phone face down on my nightstand, so I'm not looking at it. And then I'm like, reading has been really helpful just to kind of like forget the day, reset, and I just like enjoy reading. And then have your half hour later where you want to be in bed and be asleep. And it doesn't like, so for example, if you're going to bed at midnight, you don't need to like say, I'm going to be in bed by 10. Like that's crazy. So maybe your goal is that you want to be in bed, maybe let's say like 11, right? Then you'd say, I'm going to start unwinding at 10:30 and I want to be in bed by 11. So at least you're getting that extra hour of sleep. But it definitely, that's like the routine part of it. Then in terms of things that affect it, it's going to be, like I mentioned before, it's going to be alcohol, it's going to be caffeine, and it's going to be sugar and refined carbs. Because like we talked about earlier, blood sugar levels, that affects your sleep. Caffeine it takes about like 24 hours to leave your system. And then alcohol, I do this actually, I do like managing stress type of webinar. But essentially the best time to actually have alcohol is at like happy hour at 5 o'clock, because it takes 2 hours to process one drink. So like if you have like 1 or 2 drinks, ideally by the time you go to bed, the alcohol has left your system and it won't affect you. But if you drink closer to like going to bed, basically while you're sleeping, you'll be in a deep sleep, but then your body starts going through withdrawal. And then the second half of your sleep is basically going to be all like lighter sleep, where like you're sleeping, but you're not actually sleeping deep. So when you wake up, you don't feel refreshed in the morning.
Totally. Yeah. I notice such a difference, even just with one drink. Like, it's not like you're drunk or anything. It's just that your body, my body definitely reacts differently. And I've noticed that a lot, like, especially as I've gotten older.
I know.
Like when I was younger, it didn't really make a difference. But over the past few years, it's like, you'll just have one, like for me anyway, I'll have one drink and won't think much of it, but I'll notice how much like not as well rested I am the next day. And then caffeine obviously makes a huge difference. And I also feel like I've started sleeping better, like without meat, especially red meat. I feel like that, I don't know, just never sat as well, overnight. It's just harder to digest, I guess. So it makes sense.
Yeah, no, and something just because we're on the topic of energy, something I wanted to highlight is I also believe in the transfer of energy. So that's why I'm big in making my own food, because I believe that what we put into our food is what we get out of it. So if we make our food with love, then we're basically really nourishing our body. But the reason I started moving to a more plant-based diet, so technically right now all I eat is like seafood and eggs, but honestly it's like very limited. I would rather eat plants all day, every day, just because I feel better. Like you mentioned, it's just much harder on my digestion. But I also think about, like, if you think about the way that the animals are treated in our country, and they're, stuck in these small little stalls, or, they're not being treated well, and they don't have like the ability to roam. Like, how do you think the energy of that animal, like that is basically, you're eating that energy when you eat meat. Right. So like for me, I'm thinking about, like, if they're not treated well, we're already affected by so many environmental stressors and toxins in the air. Why would I add one more thing that is going to be negative energy in my body? So that's another thing I think about from like the transfer of energy too, is like, where are you actually getting your food from?
Yeah, and there's just something so like divine about eating like vegetables and fruit that like feel like the earth are just giving us to nourish us, like in a really holistic way, which the animal thing doesn't have at all. So I totally agree. Okay, well, this is super helpful, Jackie. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. Do you have any final thoughts on just sort of like energy tips in general, ways that you have found more energy and just felt better as an entrepreneur, maybe ways you've seen me that I'm not sharing or have forgotten about? And I'd also love if you would share your membership so people can get to know more about what you do and how they can like learn more from you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the last thing I just wanted to highlight is that, like Leah mentioned, I do a holistic approach to like nutrition and wellness. So everything starts with nutrition, but I talk about everything. And a big part of my business actually has become more about helping my clients manage stress and stay positive. Like, I literally signed a client that doesn't need any nutrition help, and it's all about managing stress and helping her to keep a positive mindset. So didn't ever see that happening with my business, but that's where it's going, and I'm okay with it. And I think the other thing that has really helped with my business, and I alluded to this before when I mentioned, but like Leah, your mastermind has been one of the best things I ever did. The amount of stuff I've created and the amount of self-confidence I've gotten just by working with you has been insane. So I think the biggest thing is, like, obviously I highly recommend Leah, but like getting a coach or a mentor to really help guide you through, like, being an entrepreneur and a business owner is really, really hard. And sometimes, especially when you're not surrounded by people that understand what you're doing or how you're doing it, and even if your spouses or your significant other wants to help you, they have no idea what you're going through. So if you can, from a positive mindset, have someone that can hold you like accountable, but also just to like pick you up when you do get those really, terrible emails or rejections, I think it's like really important.
Oh, I totally agree. And oh, what's up?
Oh, I just said, are you crying?
No, no, I'm not crying. I'm not crying, but I am emotional. It's so sweet to hear. And like, you know how I feel about you and how much you've helped me in my business too with everything you've taught me. But I'm so glad. And I obviously agree so much with what you say. That's why I created this mastermind so that people wouldn't feel in this alone. And, you know, I think that the lesson there is not trying to take things on your own. And, you know, you do that with your reboot. Like you said, like everything that I did in your reboot is stuff that we all know would be good to try, but you'd never do it on your own. But when
Yeah,
you're in a
exactly.
community and you have someone that can be like, no, it's okay to feel this way, or like, don't do that, or you know, I've been there and I can help you through that, which is like what my mastermind's about and what your reboot is about. It really does make all the difference. And the way I look at like finding people to help you and mentorship, I used to be so against it, which like isn't lost on me because that's like my whole business now. But it's like, why would you rob yourself of getting further ahead in life, which is what learning from someone who's already done what you want to do can do. So I totally agree, and I appreciate you pointing that out. So thank you so much, Jacquie. This was so fun to talk to you. I obviously could talk to you forever and just adore everything that you do. But these are all things I really wish I would have paid attention to sooner. So I think that this is going to help a lot of entrepreneurs. And I love like I mean, there's so many things I love about your approach, but I know we're like kind of in the biohacking generation where a lot of people are like obsessed with like supplements and intermittent fasting. I never can say it right. And all of those are kind of what will take you up to the next level, but they're not going to like make or break your business or make or break your success. You still have to put the work into it 100% or it's not going to happen. And I just think that your philosophy, it really helps people find ways to prioritize their health so that their work just is expedited and just moves that much faster. And it's amazing what you do. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah. But before we finish, I did want to just mention, if you are someone that does need help, I am launching my membership site. So it's going to be fitness and nutrition based. So a lot of times you'll go out there and like I'm big on daily movement because I teach barre and yoga and I personal train. But the other big thing about movement is that you can get results, but if you don't change the way that you think about food and the food that you put into your body. So that's why two of the things that I prioritize the most and things that have really helped me to build my healthy and happy lifestyle and get consistent results is basically the package I'm putting together. So it'll be an easy little adapt way to start working with me. So it'll have everything from 10 to 45-minute workouts, everything from, you know, think about sculpt to yoga sculpt. But then I'm also going to include a lot of different guides on, you know, how to snack and how to grocery shop and meal prep. And then also what are some super, you know, healthy, plant-based, nutritious recipes. So that's going to be launching the end of June. So you guys can find me at littleadaptsbyjack.com, or you can find me on Instagram, which there will be a link in my bio. So if you want to sign up for the wait list and find out sooner and get an exclusive offer before it launches at the end of June, you can do that. But I'm really excited about this new program because I think it's a way to help more people and reach more people and just really show them the philosophy of how you can just make these little changes or little adapts throughout your life without feeling overwhelmed or stressed to build the lifestyle that you want and you deserve.
And a business you love.
Exactly, and a business you love.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Well, I'll see you in that membership. Hopefully that's pretty clear, but thank you again for being here, Jacquie. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to DM me or her. We're totally here for you guys. And this is to your biggest vision. So here's to you guys.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you.